So, our final panel, standing between you and lunch, is an important one, probably. Our panel of experts is going to be on hand to answer your questions about AI, changing search behaviour, future of a browser, that's an interesting one for you to discuss, platform evolution, connecting with audiences across this fragmented media landscape we find ourselves in, and anything else you would like to ask via our Slido QR code.
Can everyone get to that? Do we need to move these chairs a little bit?
I'm going to pass over now to the wonderful Lisa, who's going to introduce her panel. So please put your hands together for Lisa and her panel.
I was going to say, I hate microphones. Can people hear me at the back?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can share. We are a panel of 5 with 4 microphones, and this is a very busy room. This is obviously the hot topic of the day, AI. I think in every session that I've gone into, I'm sure people will agree in the room, it has been mentioned in some way, positives and negatives. So this, I think, is going to be a really interesting debate. So we are here to talk about something which is a significant shift in our industry at the moment, the future of media in an age of AI fragmentation. So we're all seeing it. Generative AI is changing how we find information. It's no longer just about searching on Google for answers to your questions or what to do, etc. There's now such a wide landscape of platforms that people are tapping into to find out their information. One of my friends told me this morning he cooked a steak for a birthday meal on Monday using ChatGPT. ChatGPT was his Jamie Oliver. The steak was amazing. He said the fat was rendered beautifully. That is the kind of thing that is now becoming more and more the norm. My children, they use TikTok and YouTube to find, new music, to find trends, to buy things. It's a big, wide, positive mess, a hot mess. So this is going to be a really, really interesting discussion, I think. And there's one expert who's recently said, are we even creating messaging? Are we creating messaging for humans or bots because of how much trawling of sites and search there is by bots nowadays? So we need to really think about who's actually taking in the information that we're putting out there. So we need to be everywhere our audience is. This panel discussion, I hope, will get everybody in the room to think about how we can do that using AI. Is it friend or foe? We've got an incredible panel here with us today. We've got Lydia, Chris, Dev and Ian. Would you mind just putting headshots and we've got a real mix of agency representation and real expertise in this room and on this panel to go forward with these questions. So let's explore the challenges and, more importantly, the opportunity for media professionals, because this is something we need to be all over within our sector. Slido for questions, is that okay? Thank you very much. But I will kick off with the first one, and I'm going to put this to Ian. We as a panel have discussed already this in depth on our planning call last week and also in the green room. First question, how are AI overviews and large language models reshaping how we search and consume information online?
Well, it's great to meet you all. Great to be here. Great intro. I could speak for a day, 2 days, 3 days about this, and I'm sure we all could. So, pithily, it's a fascinating world at the moment that we're in as search experts. I've been in the industry nearly 2 decades, 18 years yesterday I started in my company. And the world has changed a lot, but this period we're in at the moment is, I think, one of the most exciting. You'll look back in 10 years' time and go, oh, do you remember when that happened? Yeah, we were around when that happened, because I remember when things happened in Google in the last 20 years. I remember when the day I had to teach my mum how to use Google because she was trying to type in a massive sentence into Google thinking that's how she could get information. Now, the other day, I had to teach my dad not to put 2 keywords into ChatGPT. And that is the evolution and the revolution that we're seeing, and it's amazing. So, how your audience is finding you is through, as you said, such a fragmented way. And that is really exciting. The monopoly of Google in the last 20 years, all we've done as SEO practitioners is really concentrate on Google and kind of forget Bing, to be honest. is now we need to think about that fragmentation and the journey that you're going through. So I was with a business yesterday, they're a trading business, their audience is predominantly male, 20s, 30s, 40s, tech. So they are using the technology in a really advanced way. So they're exploring things on ChatGPT and other advanced models versus a business, a brand that has a different skew in their audience of profile, and then therefore maybe they're not using ChatGPT yet, but they will be doing. Maybe it's a younger audience using different platforms. So the fragmentation at the moment is fascinating. The measurement is going to be amazing when it comes and if it comes. In search now, we're so used to kind of simple measurement, certainly in SEO, rankings, traffic, revenue, and GA4. Now we're having to think about, well, the audience is in different platforms in SEO. You know, how do I measure an audience that's found me in ChatGPT but has actually gone and purchased something in Google? And yeah, I mean, I could go on for ages, so I'll pass it on, but it's a fascinating topic.
I'm going to follow on with a question that neatly complements that first question, which has come from the audience, and I'm going to put it to Chris. Hopefully this is good for Chris. What is the best way to introduce AI tools in the workplace?
That is a really good question for me, because you may have seen in the news, WPP, so Wavemaker, part of WPP, this year launched globally our WPP Open platform. It's a way consistently working to bring all of our tools together, but it is underpinned by AI. 12 months ago, AI to me was, I'd heard about ChatGPT, I downloaded the app and had a go. I knew that some platforms were using it, but I'd never been hands-on, right? It never really supported my day-to-day job. I think, and there's a couple of colleagues in the audience today, I think we can say that we use it every single day. I sat in a few chats this morning listening to the pros and cons of AI. One thing I would like to get across, which I don't think anybody's made today, is the efficiency that it brings to people's day-to-day. People talked about we need planning expertise in our media buying. Absolutely we do. If we can free up a couple of hours of a planner's time that is not head deep in a spreadsheet because AI can do it for us, and that can be better spent interacting with our clients, with our consumers, and with our audiences, that is going to make all of our clients and our work better. So there is massive, massive efficiencies to be had, but that comes from the remedial tasks that people are doing that AI is better suited to do to free up human time to actually spend on building and delivering great work.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Chris.
And we'll just add to that, depending on which technological platform you're in, so we're in Microsoft at work, so we use Copilot, and whether you're in the Google stack, utilising that AI within that platform is amazing. I created a presentation the other day in 2 hours. It had probably taken me a day and a half because it was research and then writing, and I did it in research into Word through Copilot into PowerPoint using our company template, which always drives me mad trying to use the company template, formatting, the right font, the right blooming colour, and it was done in 2 hours, and I was like, that is amazing. And that's the type of thing that roll that across your whole company. That's powerful.
And I think, I don't know if anybody was in the last session, and the final guy who spoke, and forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about needing to ensure that students in further education at the moment are starting to be taught in a way that equips them to go into the workplace. That being able to utilise AI properly is a massive part of that. Lydia, I'm going to put this one to you. I know you are something of an enigma in how you have, for longer than has been the norm, complemented brand marketing and performance marketing. So this is a good question. I think.
An enigma.
An enigma, yeah.
I like that.
Okay. So, yeah, take that. In this new era of search and brand discovery, how should brands approach brand building and performance marketing in a world of fragmented channels and audiences? So I really see that as how do we make them work together, and I think this is something you will really get into.
So it's been a myth for a long time that you can control the order of someone kind of touch pointing with your brand. we draw things in triangles, and we say they're going to show you a lovely emotive ad, it's going to be on TV, it's going to be beautiful, and then we'll show you some really nice messy middle stuff where we're going to be really contextual, and then we're going to persuade you to buy. The reality is it hasn't worked like that for a long time. That's not new. It's not new news. You can't control, even if you like to think you can, how people come to your brand. And AI can't change that for you either. All it's done is make it more complex, and there's more ways that they can touch point with you. So the thing you need to think about in terms of breaking down those silos, AI is really, really good at kind of spotting those patterns of people zigzagging through that funnel, if you like, but it can't tell you the human emotion around it and how you start to capitalize on those zigzags. AI is really good at understanding data. It's less good, in my opinion, maybe it's controversial, at understanding humans, because humans are really irrational human beings, and machines are very rational. So the idea that we can just plan through the funnel like this, and we can have this lovely storytelling element to our brand, is just falsehood. So you need to ensure that every single touch point has that red thread, and you are not doing a beautiful 60-second ad that's getting shown at Christmas, and then when they're first searching for you, you're showing them 60% off with a down and dirty DR landing page, because you don't know which order they're going to see it. So I think it's about bringing those teams together. We're very tribal. I used to be a PPCer back in the day. You know I was there. I had problems with TV in my early career. But you can't think like that. And similarly, the experience goes beyond what we can do in media as well. If the fulfillment's not there or the product's low quality, you've kind of wasted all your time and energy. So you really need all of your teams in the same room, kind of working to the same North Star.
Do you mind if I just compliment what something Lydia just said there? There's been a couple of mentions already of channel fragmentation, and as a generalist and just a marketer at heart that cares about an outcome regardless of the channel, I think it's very tempting to say that the kind of rapid adoption of AI and how it's manifested in multiple channels has created even more fragmentation than we had originally. I would possibly argue that it's still all just marketing. So where everything has changed, nothing has changed. What we've now ended up with is yet another touch point that we just need to be able to understand how consumers interact with it. Because at the end of the day, most of us in here, our jobs are to connect audiences with brands and understand the evolution of that connection. So it's very tempting to say, what's the role for a channel? Sorry for the planners in the room. What's the role for the comms? Looking at Gemma at the back, sorry. What's the role for comms? What's the role for this? How do we measure it? Well, in many ways, the triangle or the infinity loop is kind of potentially a little bit useful for speaking to FDs, but potentially a bit redundant now, because it's a web of multiple touch points, and all you have to understand is how best can you relay your brand message in any given channel at any given time and surface the right information to users. I think you never really move away from that.
But that's if you look at SEO as a channel, you're looking at above that, an overarching. But within SEO in organic search, we've had that fragmentation just happen now. So if brands come to us and say, how do I appear in perplexity? Or am I appearing in perplexity? What is this new landscape? And how do we do that? That is the evolution, the rapid evolution of the new areas. So yes, an overarching planning perspective, it is, can I drive revenue? Can I drive my leads? Can I drive my message? But then when you get down into the channels and then into organic, what you need to deploy and how you deploy it, there are different things you do for ChatGPT than you did for Google a couple of years ago. There are similarities, but there are differences. And how you think about the AI's crawlers and the way that they digest and surface content, you need to make sure that your content is appropriate for that. Now, good content has always been good content, but you want to think about how you write, and the way you write it is very structured. It's thinking about a machine, but then to your point earlier, do you write for a machine or do you write for a human? You have to do both. But if you ignore one of them, you won't get the opportunity that you have, that you deserve. You won't maximise your opportunity. So there's a challenge.
We can joust over this.
I think just to add one point to that, we've seen the search landscape change over 20 years. When I first started, from where it is now, but there's bigger questions than the platforms themselves. Like, there is absolute, like, huge changes in customer behaviour. So, you know, generic keywords 20 years ago were the lifeblood of what you would be focused on. There's barely any volume there anymore. You know, people are going brand first. 3 brands and you're out. If you're not on that 3 brands, you're not in there. So I do think we need to be careful as an industry of all doing what we do so well, new shiny thing, yay, and then putting all the conversation, all the oxygen around it, and forgetting fundamentally how people are kind of navigating around that.
And just to add, because another thing I think I'd like to get across is that one thing has remained the same, is that our audiences love great content. That is critical. That doesn't change. So yes, we might experience 0 clicks. We might see publishers receiving lower traffic. What will keep them there is great quality content. That's going to help us as advertisers and our clients make sure that we're in the right places. And that's the same across publications, across search, across audio, telly. What we always know, it was really interesting listening to Peter Field earlier about, you know, attention. It's really, really important that, yes, you may receive fewer clicks from a search engine, your conversion rate will improve, you know, your people will stick around if you deliver great quality content.
And we're seeing that. We see that a lot. We've got lots of case studies where traffic has plummeted, leads have actually gone up, because actually the research is happening somewhere else, or it's happening within the technological stack. And actually, at the point of conversion, if you are there, if you've done all those messages correctly, if you've hit all the right notes, you are still getting that conversion.
I'm hoping that this question follows on nicely from that point around the quality of the content is key. One of our guests has asked, SEO in news media is under threat. Are you seeing enough resource being put into AI in legacy media companies in order to remain relevant? I think there's a point in there around that sector, making sure that the content is correct, it's engaging, would anyone have any points that you wanted to come into SEO on that as well?
Can I be a little bit contentious and suggest that there is probably an existential crisis with news media generally and the sentiment towards it, with the emergence of kind of grassroots creators, and like our generation consumed news media like there was no tomorrow. It was our go-to for trusted, quote unquote, from earlier, media. I'm not saying that there isn't a role for it. There absolutely is still a role for it in a media plan and a strategy, but you can't take away from the fact that the new generations coming through, the sentiment towards it, only anecdotally, sample size of 1, there is a question mark over the trustworthiness of the outlets generally, and just the sheer volume of ad capabilities that exist in those platforms. There is just a big question mark.
That's a really good question around how can we encourage trust in media, preserve trust in media sources, and ensure that, you know, and I obviously don't know the answer, I'm putting this to you guys if you have any personal suggestions, because it is a place where we're seeing real problems because of what's out there, political problems.
I think trust is a really interesting one, because the first question kind of speaks to, do we need to use more AI? There is a lot of misinformation around AI. I don't know, I use it a lot and get quite cross with it because it's just flat out wrong quite a lot of the time. So there is a mistrust, and if you're kind of layering in more AI content into an issue of trust, I think trust is becoming something that we've always talked about. Like, it's important to be in trusted environments, but what it means to be a trusted environment is so polarized, and social media has a lot to answer for on that. And actually, consumers, when you talk to them, they trust media that is saying what they believe, and so as that's kind of not just politically, just generally in life, as that's becoming much more kind of polarized, it is hard to find any channel that the universal trust is there, because what it means to be trusted has changed so much.
I completely agree, and I think the thing with trust is that, you know, we think about responsible journalism. We think it starts with us as marketeers. If we're not using AI in the right way, and I'll give you a couple of examples, right? If I'm using AI to just create me an image and stick it to a client on a brand and in social media, and there's problems with that, or if I'm asking AI to write me a report, even a report that I send to a client and there's mistakes throughout, the trust disappears. So it starts with us. It's understanding and educating. As like I said right at the beginning, we've got this great tool. Right, WPP globally have all given 100,000 people access to, you know, AI tech and tools. We need the appropriate training to be able to use that and deliver against it. And it starts through everything, like whether you are a content creator, whether you are an activation person delivering social, whether you are buying audio, it starts with us. We're not going to help the industry if we're delivering substandard work using AI.
I agree, and trust in teams. So ChatGPT came out and our content team freaked out and thought we were going to get rid of them. And I was like, no, not at all. No, we need to learn about how to utilize the technology, because a human versus a human with really well-trained AI utilizing it really well, they will be better. You know, things will be better. So, well, not everything. Some things will be better. So building trust within teams is critical. So we went on, like, we developed and launched training programs about trust with the content team to get their buy-in. And 2 years later, they were one of the most advanced teams in our whole group. There's 400 of us in the company, and the content team are the most advanced in prompt understanding, prompt execution, hallucination, auditing, checking, and they've really built it into the process. And, you know, if you're spamming out thousands of pieces of AI written content, that kills trust, and that is crap. And you will do for your brand damage. We've seen it with clients where a client has rolled out AI generated content across location pages because they couldn't bother to write it, and performance tanked. So utilizing it well is massively powerful. Utilizing it poorly is crap, and that will kill the trust.
There's been two questions which are very relevant to your answer, so you've almost answered the question that I asked them. One was, as the use of AI increases, would you not say we are replacing the creative roles with tech roles, reducing our place in industry? I think your point around
I hope not. Yeah, I sincerely hope.
The team in early doors and training them so there's a level of confidence, and also confidence and assurance that that team still has a relevance. That's definitely important. And then, do you think AI measurement will become a barrier to gut feel marketing ideas? Will those disappear? Speaking as a marketeer, I personally think it has the potential to enhance your ideas, just to give them that little bit of jazz. But you need to feel as a marketeer that you've got the freedom to use AI, use ChatGPT, whatever, and not feel like a fraud. That's something that I definitely personally think. But what you just said there about straight away the first team that you established as being crucial to making this work, that's really, that's great.
Do you think there is a worry for the leaders in 10 years, though? Because one thing
100%.
it is doing is it's voiding many, many entry-level jobs. And I think as an industry, we need to be really concerned and mindful about that, because yes, you will always need experienced people to get the most out of the capability of any kind of technological revolution. But the people coming up before us, those opportunities aren't there. And you can see it across networks, indies, across the piece. The kind of, so I worry more about not the immediate, but in 10 years from now, what it means for
one of the big
people.
four, I was talking to someone yesterday, and one of the big four auditors have done away with a load of their junior roles. And it's like, well, how is that, you know, how is the strategist, the 10-year experienced person going to start if you have no junior roles? I mean, what is that? And we had that a little bit post-COVID with the change of society, and this is another change of society, and how we handle that will be critical for the future generations.
And I just to again reiterate on that, I think we train junior people about media planning and like the essence of it, not clicking a button to set something live. And I've just completely simplified how we activate. but more to why we're clicking that button to
Yes.
set it live.
Yeah.
You know, why did we get to that? You'll listen to, Mark Zuckerberg say that stick it all in Meta and they'll do everything. Really? I mean, that what tells us that that's the place that the audience are. We just said how many platforms that we're all dealing with day in, day out. So it's down to the planning. That's the art, and that's what I don't think AI is anywhere near at the moment doing for us.
It's the strategy piece. 4-box model. Top right is high value, and bottom left is mundane. Monotonous factory style output. AI has the opportunity to make us go top right because we can deliver things and execute things in a different way at a faster pace with the process. But we have to be top right. We have to be ingenuitive. We have to be intelligent. We have to be creative. That's where the opportunity is. But this will disrupt the whole industry. It'll disrupt economies. And where you are placed on that chain is critical.
Dev, I'm going to put this one to you. You almost did this for me earlier on when you answered the question proactively. But when we spoke, you were so passionate about the client always comes first, regardless of anything else. The client is the priority. And somebody has asked, is enough being done to bring brands, client, on the AI journey in terms of media decision making?
That's a very good question, that, isn't it? That's too big to answer in one go because it depends so much on the context of the use of AI. We've just sat, right, for the last, however long, 13 or so minutes, 27 minutes, 28 minutes now. And there has been multiple applications of AI spoken about here, from efficiency generation to creative execution to planning, etc. I think to say, can we upskill clients? It's too broad a question to answer. However, as you mentioned a couple of times already, AI readiness in its, through whatever channels we control as media agencies, is very high on most of our agendas here, and definitely at Omnicom PhDs. AI readiness from individuals, teams internally, and by extension, clients. I think all we can do realistically is, it goes back to what I said earlier about the fact that it's all marketing. It's all designed to connect people to brands. And if we're aware of the evolution of it, the general trajectory, the emerging tech and the capabilities of it in all of its senses, then yes, we are best placed to help advise and help guide and help curate kind of however it might be leveraged. I think to be able to say, yes, do this now would be insane, ill-advised, and just, it's very nice of you to call us experts, but is anyone an expert on the entirety of AI?
No, and just to be a little bit provocative, I'd say no, we're not doing enough for clients, straight up, because we're not doing enough for ourselves. Like I say, we are not experts. We are using it, and it's changing. It will be different tomorrow and next week. But we all need to have a collective journey, and again, just be responsible with it.
I also think transparency is really important with clients to take them on that journey. So what we don't want to end up as clients not trusting us because we become the Googles and Meta, where we put everything in this black box and we keep it locked away and we don't explain to them how we've come to those decisions, and we just kind of revert to because the AI told us to. And that's quite dangerous, actually, in terms of helping them get on that journey where we are using it. We need to be transparent in terms of the role that it's doing and how it's helping them. But that openness, we don't want to become another of the kind of big tech companies where we hide behind it.
And it's fascinating, the knowledge levels. So CMOs' knowledge levels are vastly different, sometimes quite surprising. I was sat with one yesterday and he was just like, Ian, can you just talk to me about the basics? Big organisation, CMO. Others, they're like really advanced. So again, this proliferation of the technologies, there's a big divergence going on. And where are you at? And how are you keeping up? And to your point, it's a competitive environment. First to 10,000 hours, all that jazz. It's like how it's motivating, I think, and like thrilling. But you've got to keep up because it's so fast paced.
You have ended beautifully on 1 second. There have been so many questions here. I am going to offer the panel's time at some point during lunch. If anyone wants to go and ask them a question that you asked that wasn't asked, we have some incredible questions in regard to, will managers soon be managing people and bots? How worried should we be? Common misconceptions about AI and using tools. Which acronym, GEO/AEO or just SEO, does each member of the panel subscribe to, and why? That would be a really good one. So sorry I didn't get to that. That is one.
Put the mic,
All the
mic
above.
down, Ian.
How do agencies and clients feel about the use of AI within pitch decks? We could be here all afternoon, and I actually love that this is a topic that is so relevant to our sector, our businesses and our lives, and could encourage that debate for days. So
Could we have that list shared round between us? Would
that
that be
was
all
going
right?
to be
What we'll do is we'll take these questions from the media leader and we'll write an article based on some of these questions and try and get those answers. So plug for the media leader, check us out.